UFC 238, Saturday, June 8th. The United States. Look who's here. It's Jessica, the Evil Eye. I'm kind of like what's up with this Evil Eye thing? How long have they been calling you the Evil Eye?
Since since after I won my first fight ever as an amateur. So 13 years.
Was that an instant embrace? I like that. I'm the Evil Eye. Don't mess with me.
Well, it kind of goes both ways. So my dad ran with a lot of biker gangs, and they called him the Evil One.
Wow.
So he was always called the Evil One. And then after my fight, like all my friends and like my family were like, "Gosh, Jess, you go in there and you're just evil." And I'm like, you know what? They're like, "You should call yourself the Evil Eye." And I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna stick with that. I like it. It's got a ring to it.
Did that develop over time? Because I'm thinking about, you're fighting Valentina, who she basically came into the world and started fighting, right? I mean, that's her whole family was there, and you sort of came into it a little bit later.
No, I guess that's all perception.
Okay.
I was a Midwest girl. I had rough upbringing. My dad dated multiple women. So I mean, no matter what, my mom was in the picture. So being tough and fighting through things was always my personality. So no, I didn't come from a kickboxing background, so to speak, and fighting. But I fought some real stuff in life, some real life fights. And that's be emotion, survival, and all of it.
Yeah.
So I'm a born fighter.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about your dad a bunch, so I figured we would bring it up. And he's gone now, what, 3 years roughly?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been about 3 years. He died of stage 4 brain cancer. It's called glioblastoma, which is if you know anything about it, it's an automatic, death sentence. Nobody survives it longer than 10 years. Most people are dead within 18 months. And my dad he fought hard. He's a big man. He was 6'4", 250. He's a big guy. He was not a little man by any means. So he fought as hard as he could.
And you dealt with abuse from a very young age all the way through adulthood. Yeah. And then you would step back for okay, my dad's out of my life. And then he gets sick, and you come back in and you do as much as you possibly can to help him with his battle and raising money. Yeah,
the crazy thing with my father is when you look back at it, right? Because now, I don't hold on to the things that happened to me in an anger way, right? My dad's eulogy at the funeral, the guy said, "Those who bear the shackles of the past carry it to the future." So it meant so much to me. I was literally that was when I had to learn how to deal with things, right? And learning how to deal with the emotion of all the stuff that me and my brothers had went through, that I was maybe I didn't understand at the time my dad was going through some of these things. I'm 32 years old. My dad was in his late 20s when he had me and my brother. So I wonder, wow, maybe there were some emotional things that he was going through. And I hear the stories about it, the things that he grew up, my grandfather, his father killed himself, and my dad found him at a young age, and my dad came from some very serious abuse. I mean, we're talking, 60s, 70s when all these things were going on. So, back then you didn't have social media to run to when your dad was beating you or doing things. No one really cared, and he was a farm guy, and I think that he struggled with a lot of emotion, bad emotion, and I feel bad for him, and for a long time I didn't feel bad for him, I hated him, and because of that, our relationship from the time, I left home at 18, before I even finished my senior year of high school, because me and my dad got in a huge argument because he didn't like the guy I wanted to date at the time, and instead of working through it as a dad and daughter should, he kicked me out, and I left, and I graduated my senior year of high school living on my own. I had my own apartment in Akron, Ohio. Wow. I was driving myself to school every day, and I mean, that was a decision that I made. So when I found fighting, I wasn't talking to any of my family at the time. It was something that I had made the decision on my own. When I went to have my very first fight, I reached back out to my father, my stepmother at the time, and my little brother. And I was like, I'm doing this fighting stuff, I mean, I guess it's kind of our background as a family. We always were tough-nosed people. But I'm doing this fighting stuff, and I would love for you guys to be there. I want to give you the chance to tell me no or not. And my dad just embraced me with love and said, kiddo, I miss you. I miss you so much. I'm his only daughter. So he's like, I want to be there for you. And probably for about 5-6 years, our relationship was inseparable. It was we had the relationship I always wanted with my dad. He would tease me and be like, my daughter should have been my son. She's so much tougher than them. And we just had this incredible relationship, and we had some struggling moments in between there. Unfortunately, abuse is something that he always inflicted on all of us. And it wasn't until, I was 26 years old when he put his hands on me again that I stepped away from him for many years. He embarrassed me and he hurt me. And, I had told the world about all the great things he had did, not about the things that we had struggled with as kids. So, he put his hands on me again, and I walked away for a really long time. And then he came down with brain cancer. And, I made the decision to go back because, no one should have to walk into those kinds of circumstances alone, and I loved my dad. I knew that he was struggling, so I helped him fight the good fight for as long as I could until some more bad habits showed through while he was struggling with the cancer. And I just, at that point, I couldn't deal with it. And it showed. I lost all those fights during those times. There's a lot of emotional things happening. And I didn't know who I was during that time. And I feel like, as sad as it is to say, I think my father passed away happy in life, with terms with each other. And I feel like he's up there shining down on me because he was like, baby girl, we got the flyweight division. Go get that title. So I'm very fortunate, So I try to look at those moments and use them as a way to embrace the future instead of look back on the past.
Yeah, what's your advice because obviously you developed a lot of empathy for your dad and you saw him, clearly in his struggle. So for somebody who's coming somewhat from where you're coming from and their father or mother or whoever is sick and you want to have some form of closure beforehand that I think you were able to get, like what would you tell somebody like this is, you don't want to carry this with you forever, like what would you say?
I would tell them to go give yourself a chance to readdress the situation, leave no door, closed or open that you feel that might need to be closed or might need to be reopened, go give it a chance, and you'll never regret it. I can tell you that because I don't regret going back. I think that it was smart. I think at first had you had asked me originally when it first happened, I said no and I didn't want to. But then I knew when I heard his wife call me, I knew that it was the right thing to do, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad for my heart that I did it. And I would recommend anybody to go back and try and see how you feel.
I seen you talk about doing you got a sports psychologist to help you sort of connect with yourself better. Has that helped you, I'm assuming, out of the ring, in the octagon?
So, after my father's passing, I was just struggling with a lot of different things. My brothers were too, there was just a lot of things, when death happens, right? And it's not under the best circumstances. My dad, was only in his 50s. He shouldn't have died that way. And no one should, have to deal with cancer. You know what I mean? No one should ever have to go out that way, no matter what you've done in life. And I feel, and granted, my dad never hurt other people. He only just hurt his children the most. So unfortunately, we took the big ultimate of it all, but he didn't deserve to feel less about himself. So I went and seen the sports psychologist just because it was, again, I was like, I'm losing fights. Like, I'm not being the best me. Like, maybe that somebody can help me channel this, and maybe someone can help me get through this. It wasn't for me. I at least tried it, right? I went a couple of sessions. The guy was great. He worked with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was so kind to me. He heard my story and he let me talk, right? And when I was able to talk about things, I felt that was therapy. So I started realizing that maybe sharing my story was better therapy than anything, that maybe I could not feel like I was the only one in the world dealing with this. Yeah. So it came and went. It's not for me, but, it was definitely, I'm glad I tried it because now I can give someone advice like, hey, maybe you should see a sports psychologist. Maybe it is for you. It wasn't necessary for me, but it might be for you.
How do you get yourself ready to keep going right now as far as just getting in there? You're not getting any younger here. You seem like the motivation's like super right there.
Oh, no, I feel like my 30s are my prime. I know I'm not getting any younger, but I feel like my 20s, I struggled through my 20s. I learned a lot through my 20s. I'm finally living in my 30s. 30s have been the best years of my life, and I feel younger and better than I ever have.
So, okay, how are we going to beat Valentina here?
You know what? So I see the fight going in so many ways, right? I have had so many decision wins. I've been to the distance. We know Jessica, I can go the distance. And I finished fights before, right? The last time I was put on kind of the hot seat back in Bellator, I finished her in under a minute. I want the finish. I do. I want it. If it's not there, we don't, it is what it is. But I want to get that finish just so that I can kind of put the dot on the I, you know, where I'm like, look, you know, I am a force to be reckoned with. Like I am who I say I am, and I am, you know, going to be the best in this division has ever seen.
So I'm thinking you're more versatile. She's going to come at you one specific way. Are you playing around with different strategies? Not to give anything away here.
Yeah, I mean, I every day I go in with something different, right? Like, okay, maybe she's like, you know, I'm not kickboxing. I'm just going to run across the cage and try to grapple her. I'm ready for that. If she doesn't meet me in the middle, you know, we don't tap gloves and we come out banging, then that's it. We'll figure out as the fight goes. And I think that that's something that I'm taking into this fight is my ability to adjust on the fly. And that's what makes someone really good, right? Like that's what makes someone good is they can, by the moment, you know, it's just a snap of a finger, they make a better decision, right? Like, so I'm using that going into this fight.
So you say snap of the moment. I think like I see you sitting here. Like you could be on a magazine cover, and then the snap of
bam, snap of a finger,
so
evil.
How does that work?
You know, it's that channeling, right? It's that thing that happened to me, you know, as a kid. Like all those moments, all of that, like all the bad moments, all of that is where I channel, and I love winning. I like feeling like a winner. I've spent so much time low and sad and depressed when I was losing, and people were just beating me up emotionally, just saying all these things that like when I felt the win side, the A side, when I felt the A side again, I was like, this is it. I'm staying here. There's no way anybody can pull me off this because I make that decision. You can't beat me if I make the decision to win. And that's what I've done since return to flyweight, you know, last January.
Yeah. So I got some stuff that Valentina's doing here. She says she's training in the wilderness and doing things like in the cold to try to get her some form of advantage. Does that scare you? She's out there in the cold.
No, I'm from Cleveland. I just most recently moved to the desert. So you want to talk about cold? I'm sorry. I live in Cleveland. So I've seen 90-degree, -9. Let's see, every kind of weather that there is possible. But if that's what she needs to prepare herself, then so be it. You know, I mean, look. There's no secrets in this sport anymore, right? Like, if you feel that training in the wilderness is gonna make you feel like you're better, that's fine. I felt like going to the UFC PI where they have all this science, all this knowledge, right? Like, we live in a day and age where there's so much technology and knowledge behind science to make us better. I'm going where the science is so we can make me better that way, right? Like if I can make myself 1% better because we've done a specific test that says, oh, Jessica's got, you know, fast hamstrings. If we train her hamstrings, that means that her punch will be that much better. I'm going with true facts, with scientific facts, not, you know, I grew up in going camping. I don't need to do that anymore.
So you're into math. You actually.
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
I'm finding myself, more because, you know, the past 13 years when I was at Strong Style, I feel like I graduated that school of learning martial arts and learning like the hard-rooted parts of it that like, I want to throw some science into it, right? Like, so you're telling me if I eat a sweet potato at this time after this workout, because we tested my blood and we know it reacts to sweet potato and becomes the best fuel for me, let's do it, right? Like, let's use some science behind it.
Yeah, we were just talking before you sat down. You got like this really healthy lunch. You got like, what do you eat? What do you eat all day? What's this? Do I have to eat these 2 eggs at 8 a.m. and that helps me? I mean, I don't know if this is giving anything.
So
away.
we're getting there, right? Like we're just now learning this. So like that's again like I'm learning to use the scientific part of it that I've just done what has felt right by me, right? So now we're adding some science behind it. So we're not quite there yet, right? Like they might be like, hey Jessica, you got to do a handstand while you eat 2 hard-boiled eggs and an avocado. You know, I mean, if it gets me 1% better, I mean, I guess I'm eating avocado and egg whites on my head.
Is this gonna drive you crazy? You know, like, I don't know. Like you're just trying to get like that 1 inch better, that one little edge.
Every day is one,
fun?
But yeah, it's fun, right? Like I like learning new me. I like it, right? Like my life has always been about comfort, that everything I've done in the past year has been uncomfortable. I left my longtime team who I'd been 13 years with, you know, like I moved to Las Vegas in a decision I made in 2 hours and was done in 2 weeks, right? Like I made the decision I was gonna be the UFC flyweight champ, and I mean, look, here we are. You know, I'm sitting here talking to you, and these were all new things to me. So like, if I can do one thing different every single time and it makes me that much better just by doing it, then yeah, let's do it.
So 125, 135.
I'll never go back to bantamweight. I'll never go back to 135. It's just not the weight class for me. It's how I always try to explain it to people is I feel like I let go of the 20-pound kettlebell I had in my hand for so long, right? Like, go run a mile holding a 20-pound kettlebell, right? Today takes you 10 minutes. Put that 10-pound, 20-pound kettlebell down and go rerun it. Tell me how much faster you get.
Right.
How much better you get, right? You put the extra weight down and now you're moving faster. And I feel like that's what's happening here is that they're seeing the real fighter that they recruited originally. I was never a bantamweight when the UFC found me. It was just about opportunity. And that was my decision to go up, They didn't force me. They just gave me opportunity. I tried to succeed in that lane. I couldn't. And now a new lane has been created and I'm succeeding great in it.
Would you say you felt safer back then at 130 because you felt stronger? Or
No, I felt less. I felt less safer for myself and less that I could protect myself because I was going against girls who were bigger than me,
right,
and just that much better. So even all of it, I feel like I was trying to promote myself wrong. I feel like I was just not. I wasn't Jessica. I just wasn't me. And then there were so many outside influences going on at that time. I don't want to say I wish they didn't happen because then I don't think I would appreciate where I am now.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. The past is the past. Now I can only focus on what I can do now and in the future.
You mentioned Cleveland a couple times, so I want to give a little love to Cleveland and Akron. You got a LeBron connection going on here. I know you're at the United Center today. You've seen Jordan's statue. I feel like there's got to be something here.
Yeah, well, I'm from Ohio. I'm from Rootstown is really where I'm from, and I know you guys probably have no idea where that's originally from, but it's a suburb of Akron. And from Akron, I went to college there, and then went up to Cleveland. So it was, I love Ohio. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of the Midwest states, and even we're just forgot about. We're not your typical New York or Cali where all the action's going on. So if you can make it in Cleveland, you can make it anywhere.
I believe that. I 100%. What about? Did you think that there would be the WNBA MMA at some point? Did you see this as something that was going to happen for you? Were you dreaming that it was going to happen?
So I created a tagline after my first fight, and me and my dad actually did this together back then. But he would say to me, "I believe, kiddo," right? Because at the time, there was no women's fighting still. It was local stuff, right?
Right.
And there no women had fought in Cleveland before I was the first female to fight in Cleveland, and then so it was I just had this overwhelming sense of belief, right? I just knew that I was supposed to be doing this. It was the one thing I felt most right doing, right? Anytime when anything bad ever happened in the sport, with me when I took those losses, as much as people had tried to say, Jess, maybe you should think about retiring, right? And it wasn't retiring because I wasn't good enough. It was because the people that loved me most got so sick of seeing that sad Jessica face, right? And I identified myself with all that. So I think that now that things are different, right? And I always kept that self-belief. Now people are going, wait a minute, I can believe in myself too, right? Even things might seem a little doubtful, right? But I got this one little inch holding me on. That one little inch turns into a mile, and then a mile turns into 10 miles, and then it's just, it's full on, everyone's there doing it. And look where we're at now, My first fight was in 2008. I mean, look where we are almost 10 years later, from that.
Do you have any relationship with Dana?
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I did Entertainment Tonight with him a couple weeks ago, but now I'm at the UFCPI regularly, so he's there all the time, and I appreciate him, and he's the reason I was given a second chance. Most fighters don't lose 4 fights, and get a chance to stay around, but he basically kind of gave me the get your shit together, or we're gonna get rid of you. And I got it together. Here we are, 3 wins later, and I'm able to talk with you about a title fight.
It's amazing. Congratulations.
Right? It is. It's
you
cool.
You live under a lot of pressure, right? I mean, it's the
pressure is perception.
Okay.
Pressure is perception at this point. So for me, what pressure do I have? I mean, I know I'm going to win, right? I know what I know, but I feel like everybody else, that's just, it's all, the pressure's on everyone else to make the right decision, right? Post it out on Twitter that, oh, I was the one who said Jessica was going to win, right? How is there any pressure on me? I already know what the outcome's going to be.
I like that. But I just comparing you guys to other athletes, get long-term contracts. You got it's on the line every time.
Always, yeah. I mean, you gotta sink or swim, And I think I said this before. I spent a lot of time in some really deep waters, and I got my head above water, and now I'm just gonna be walking on it as long as I can.
All right, June 8th, United Center. What's it gonna feel like when you get out there? Look at that smile.
It's incredible, because I'm so good at visualizing, and I feel it. I feel my hands clenching. I feel my fists just giving every bit of power, and I can't wait to feel my hand raised, right? Like, because that's a feeling that when you're in there and you feel that, it's empowering. It's just like an overwhelming sense of power for yourself and confidence, and I can't wait. I can't wait to be there. I know it's so many months away, so I don't want to like exhaust myself, but it's definitely in my thoughts every day. And you know, we'll see everyone June 8th.
Tickets on sale.
Friday.
This coming Friday.
Yeah.
Ticketmaster. So if you're watching this later than that, they went on sale on April 5th, but if you're watching today, April the 5th, get them. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be incredible. It's going to be breathtaking, right? Like, everyone should tune in to see some amazing historical stuff, right? Like, I think everyone, like, is second guesses it until they see it. So I'm going to tell you right now, June 8th, you're never going to forget this moment.
The evil eye. You kind of came with a sweet eye today. I appreciate you sharing your
I did.
story.
You know, I'm doing the girl thing today. You'll see me when my hair's braided. It's all business.
Great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Jessica.